Welcome to those who enjoy American military history and anyone else who may be watching. This video is a compilation extracted from my digital archive from my visit to the American Military Cemetery and Memorial in Luxembourg City, Luxembourg about 10 years ago. A disclaimer though, I'm not a history expert by any means, so if you want more history and stats, that kind of stuff, I'd recommend that you look it up elsewhere. Like many of you, I enjoyed the 1970s movie Patton, starring George C. Scott, and one evening after watching it, I wondered where and how famous and renowned U.S. General George Patton died and where he was buried. In my research, I read that he died on December 21, 1945, from complications suffered after a vehicle collision in Germany. Upon his death about 2 weeks after the wreck, he was buried in the American Military Cemetery in Luxembourg alongside wartime casualties of the Third Army, the very men and army that he commanded, in order to fulfill his request of being buried with his men. About 10 years ago, I had the opportunity to visit Luxembourg, and so my top priority was to visit the cemetery and see for myself where General Patton and scores of other American soldiers who fought in World War II were buried. So I did, and here it is. This was my first visit to a military cemetery, and it truly is an impressive experience. All the white crosses and stars of David lined up in such perfectly straight rows gave the whole scene a very tragic but noble beauty. At the top of the hour, the bell tower played a familiar tune, the Star-Spangled Banner. Before we go, here's one last look at General George Patton's burial site in the American Military Cemetery in Luxembourg City, Luxembourg. There's a little more to the story, though. If you're familiar with General Patton's life, as well as the 1970 movie Patton, you'll remember that General Patton infamously slapped one of the men under his command, a private named Charles Kuhl. In further research of this incident, I found out that not only was Private Kuhl a fellow Hoosier, but he was buried in Fairview Cemetery in Mishawaka, Indiana, a place I'm very familiar with. So one day, I decided to find his grave as well, and here it is. I'm on kind of the south side of the cemetery, and you can see right there is where the road kind of bends back up to the north, and far in the distance is Liberty Road or whatever. This right here is Jefferson,